People who cater to the super rich, what things have you seen? I used to work for a billionaire Russian family as a tutor for their daughter. One day we're in her room studying and suddenly she yells, "Daddy's home," and runs to the window. She'd heard a helicopter and knew it was about to land on the lawn. My dad works in shipping and has a lot of friends who have worked on super yachts. In the 90s, one of his mates got a call up to bring the yacht of a particular Australian media tycoon billionaire, not that one, from Sydney to New York, with instructions to be anchored in a particular bay at an exact time with a lunch spread for 50 people ready. So they got there and set up the food. The guy never showed up. Turns out he was having a rich dude party in a building overlooking the harbor and wanted to be able to point down and say, "That's my boat." He wanted the lunch just in case he decided to take his rich friends down to his yacht, but he didn't feel like it that day, so all the food got wasted and they sailed back to Oz without seeing him. I am an art student working as a gardener. We work in one of the wealthiest areas in my country. Some customers are really eager to show me their collection of artworks that they have hanging on their walls once they find out that I study it. I remember one time standing in a bathroom, with my dirty gardening clothes, and there was a Picasso above the toilet. I heard an interview on the radio from a guy who was from my hometown in the UK who was Stallone's personal chef in the 90s. He said Stallone was a nice guy. He had something in his house where he could watch the amount of tickets his films was selling and live time, so knew almost immediately whether it was a flop or not. He was married to Bridget Nielsen at the time, and this chef said she was walking about topless or naked all the time, which he thought was strange until she walked up to him one time when Stallone was out and offered it to him on a plate. He politely declined because he liked Stallone and they were divorced a few years later, so there may have been other things going on. Worked at a restaurant where a few of the regulars were the children of billionaires. I told my parents that my tuition costs $500,000, a student from China, in America, I overheard after being asked how she has so much money. Another time I was serving a table, I was asked to bring a tray of 60 patron shots, $600. For a 19-year-old student, I must have had an incredulous look on my face because his only response to assuage my concern was, "My father owns diamond mines in Africa." This was ages ago. I worked in a DVD store. A woman came in with 5 A4 pages, double-sided, of movie titles and just asked me to fetch what we had. I ran about and collected DVDs and Blu-rays close to 1K worth. I asked what they were for. She was a PA for a billionaire and getting them for his yacht. I saw Beckham, English football player, take DVDs from a store I worked at. He just grabbed them off the shelf and hardly looked. He filled several baskets. I went to a New England prep school for high school on a full-ride sports scholarship. There were a decent amount of foreign national students, mainly from Asia, that came from extremely wealthy families. One of those students' parents bought him a brand new BMW 5 Series, fully loaded, when he got his license our junior year. When we graduated a year later, he was going back to Korea and obviously couldn't take the car, so he gave it to his best friend. Kid got an $80,000 car at 17 years old, just for being good friends with the right guy. I'll never forget that. I went to a public high school in Santa Barbara, and amongst the regular beater cars that kids had in the senior parking lot were a few brand new BMWs belonging to the rich kids from Montecito. Meanwhile, there was also a daycare center on campus for the teenage moms, and I got to witness a few gang fights happening on school grounds. It really was a diverse school community. Worked graveyards as a valet at an ultra-luxury boutique hotel. It's quite shocking how some of these people live, and you'd never have a clue by just looking at them on the street. One weekday night I was asked at 2 a.m. by a guest to bring around his Bentley. Regular looking dude came out with a backpack, got in and left. Not 30 minutes later the same dude pulls up in a Ferrari and now has a briefcase instead of backpack. Skip ahead an hour and the same guy orders 5 shot glasses to his room. I go up and it's 2 guys in robes and 2 naked ladies on the couch. They have lines of Coke and booze on the coffee table. They tip me $50 for the shot glasses and I leave. 2 hours later, just as the sun was rising, the 2 guys come out together in suits looking like they were heading to the office. The ladies left shortly after. Obviously drugs and escorts were nothing new, but the car swap middle of the night was a bit strange. I used to work for a company that modified aircraft for really rich people. I'm talking 747s, not Gulfstreams. This company had made several aircraft for this one customer, who I was told had purchased a new one solely because his spiritual advisor had told him that one of his current planes was bad luck. He still let his wife use it for her personal travel. To me, one of the most exquisite features of these planes wasn't the gold-plated everything, or rare wood veneers, it was the silk carpet. That stuff cost over $1,000 per square foot and feels like walking on a bed of angel feathers harvested in the most inhumane way possible. Granted, these guys don't deck out the whole plane, just their personal areas. The F-3rd is usually reserved for staff and such, and is more like a fancy economy class, but yeah. Silk carpet. I tutored a wealthy 5-year-old. I got paid good money to spend an hour drawing and coloring and playing with this kindergartner, but all in French. He had been to more places in the world by 5 than I'll ever go to in my whole lifetime probably. The best part of the job were the perks, though. They would take me and my so out to dinner at fancy restaurants and pay the bill no matter what it was. They would invite us over to eat some delicacy they prepared. Wife was Chinese/Vietnamese, husband was Indian, and they'd always have some house guests staying with some crazy resume. For example, one time they had a diplomat for the Netherlands there to do business. They had houses in my city and in San Francisco and would fly there all the time. They invited me on several occasions, but I never had time to go. I also befriended and stayed with the daughter of Russian oligarchs who lived in Paris. The mom was a famous writer and the dad did something in business. Their grandfather was a famous Soviet writer, and so in general they lived a very cultured life. They lived in the richest part of Paris called Neuilly-sur-Seine and had houses in the Alps, Crimea, and Moscow. The crazy part, or rather sad part, was that she only had a few options for a career. She could be a doctor, a lawyer, or a businesswoman. Their son was lucky enough to study at the Geneva Conservatory, but that was only because he was really talented. In this family, if you didn't have a natural artistic talent, you only had those 3 career prospects to choose from. I had the impression that she was rather depressed about how limited her options were and how much pressure was put on her to succeed. I'm not super rich or anything, but I think gifts are kick-ass, and I'd much rather spend my money on a cool gift for a friend who can use it than on something extra I don't need. I was a software engineer while most of my friends were in grad school /med school working low-paying jobs, so I've enjoyed being able to chip in or get nice things for them when they said they couldn't. I do always make sure they're okay with it and ask if I can in advance so nobody ends up uncomfortable. Have been working for the super rich for some time. Craziest thing I've seen: brand new 90-meter multi-million-pound GBP yacht was built in Netherlands. Maiden voyage to Antibes in France. Owner came on board and left after a few hours. Next week we get sent to Genoa, Italy, where all the bathrooms on board were ripped out and upgraded. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but I'm talking about brand new marble sinks, showers, floors and lobbies all crowbarred out, chucked in skips. Tons of brand new polished marble binned. New marble colors and patterns arrived in the weeks following. There's feed me money, there's fuck you money, and there's it's not even a thought money. Was invited to a Christmas dinner while I lived in Seoul by an extremely wealthy Korean family. Very nice family, but I think in hindsight they wanted to show their friends that they had foreign friends like me. Wife had everything catered and the home professionally decorated. It felt like we were in a department store. Multiple Christmas trees, a working train set, staff handing out appetizers on plates, etc. It looked like she studied Christmas movies from the USA and copied everything. Dinner is served on a comically long table with 2 huge oven roasted turkeys and all of the trimmings. They looked perfect. I was later told that Koreans don't like turkey and were just for decoration. They would be thrown out later. We ate Korean food. The family said I could take a turkey home and that the caterer would drop it off with anything else I wanted. I had a classmate whose father or mother was filthy rich from family money, can't remember. But they and he were amazing people. In uni, this girl in class who was really nice but also came from a poor family dropped her MacBook. She worked 60 hours a week for 3 months in the summer. He just came up, gave her his MacBook, and said he would just get a new one after school and his parents wouldn't care. Pure generosity. There was no TikTok movie or karma whoring going on. He was a stellar dude, spending his parents' money but only on stuff for other people and in a nice helpful way. He also gave all the guys in class a suit for graduation. Lots of the people were talking about renting one and stuff, and he told everybody he knew a place to rent real nice suits. We all went there and we all rented a suit for €100 or so, everything included, and when you went to return it we found out they were all paid for by this dude. He was like, renting a suit is stupid, but buying a suit is expensive. Now you got best of both worlds. Last thing I heard, he bought like 10 PS5 from scalpers and sold them for retail to kids in the neighborhood. Fuck, I should have stayed friends with him. I went to college with a guy whose parents live in Saudi Arabia and were very well off. They sent him $50,000 a semester as an allowance. He drove an old Honda and dressed like he had no income. Genuinely nice guy, very intelligent and absolutely loved technology. He would stay late and tutor us and set up an emulator for N64 games on our laptops. Didn't act like he had money. Hope he is doing well. There's something hilarious about having a super expensive battle station decked out with everything one could need, and then using that to play League of Legends. None of the games that have crazy hardware requirements and offer crazy graphics, he went with the game that's known for running on a toaster. Good for him.